Magic you are looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
Hey, how's it going? And I'm excited to bring you this tutorial today on a talking light robot. And basically this is just a way to give you more story options, and it really conveys a sense that the robot's speaking, but not with the mouth. They're using their chest plate light to communicate. And so it looks something like this. And we get play.
Magic you are looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
So the chest plate light is in sync to the audio.
Magic you are looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
So it's kind of cool. And we use the sequencer for doing this. There are some issues I've had with rendering this out, the audio out at the same time as the video. So I'm just using the audio for a reference, and then I'll just sync the audio up to the video in the editing, my video editing program, which is Vegas Pro, so that I'm not even going to render out the audio, just the light, but it'll be in sync with the audio. So there shouldn't be any problem syncing it up in my video editing software. So I'll be back in just a minute to show you how you could get started on something like this. And remember, it's a work in progress. Okay, so to get started in this, we're just in the third person template. There's no starter content, nothing else. And we're just going to start by getting a mannequin into the scene. They'll use Quinn, and we'll just drag her into the scene like that. Hit the space bar, and I'll rotate her 90 degrees. And we can render this out, hopefully. Like I said, maybe not with the audio, but at least with the visuals, and we'll sync up the audio in our video editing software. So all we're going to do to get started this, I'm going to go in the content level. I'm going to right click. I'm going to create a level sequence here. We'll just leave it called new level sequence. I'll double click into it. With Quinn selected in the scene, we'll go to track and we'll add her. She's going to, a couple things happen when it happens. First, we come in animation mode, and it's got a control rig, which kind of stifles the pre-built, the ready-made animation. So we'll just select the control rig mannequin body and delete it. And then we can go out of animation mode. We don't need that anymore. And then we can go into animation, and we can select the MF idle. So then she's in an idle pose. And if I select her and hit F, we can get down in here and see her in the scene. So I'll slow down my camera a little bit, get in a little bit better position here. And there she is. Oops, okay. There we go. All right. Looks good. Okay, so we're going to, like I said, we're going to play around with this. This is very interesting to me. The other thing that we need is you need some kind of audio. So if you just want to record some kind of silly audio of somebody talking, and I have one here. It's just, I grabbed something off the internet, and it's just saying, and it comes in as a WAV file, and you can right click it and also turn it into a cue. And so there is that. And I haven't honestly rendered out audio on the sequencer before, so I'm still experimenting with the pros and cons of doing that. So, but I've had issues with it not coming out. So I'll have to do a follow-up video on the audio portion of this, but I just want to give you the basic concept. So anyway, once that's selected, we should have this available. So anyway, here we are, and we've got our idle. And then if we come here, we can add a track and go to add the sequencer, audio track. And if we select here, we should be able to drag this down here. And that's going to be a good spot for it. And what we're going to do is add that, I think it's called test audio. And I'm going to have to speed through some of this video because, and I don't know whether if it makes a difference whether we use a cue, test audio cue, but let's try the cue and see if that works better for us. I'm going to drag this to the end. And so even if this audio doesn't export properly, you'll see how it's perfectly going to be aligned with the video that we'll render out. So we can just sync this in our video editing software. So to a certain extent, it's a moot point about the audio because we can just combine it in our video editing software. So at best, it'll render out. At worst, we'll just use this as we're just using this as a reference. Okay, so now with this selected, all we got to do is come in here to MF idle and add the skeletal mesh component, and within here you'll see we have access to this element 1, which is our material parameters that control the chest plate. And so can I drag this down? I like to try to keep these together, but if not, you'll see here then we've got 3 parameters that control the brightness of this breastplate, and we're going to select all 3 of them. So we'll do the layer 0, and then we'll add the layer 1 brightness, and then we'll add the layer 2. Oh, that was the color. I didn't mean to add the color. The layer 2 brightness, and then open this up. I'll get rid of the color, but you could experiment with these parameters and these values and all this. So what I'm going to do, I've experimented with this before. I'm just going to go ahead and turn layer 0 to 0 and that layer to 0 too, because I don't want to have to animate 3 layers. I don't want to have to put keyframes down on 3 layers. And then what we're going to do is, just using this as our kind of our reference, we're just going to put a bunch of keyframes down. So there's different ways, like all these keyframes right now, it's probably easier to set it to 0. So let's set this to 0, our first keyframe. And then we're just going to drag this here, and we're going to just put keyframes on all the peaks and valleys. So that's quite a few keyframes. So I might speed through this part of the video, but we just drag this. There's a peak. There's a valley. There's a peak. Kind of a peak. There's a valley. There's a peak here. And you can add more keyframes and make it more precise, but I'm just conveying the basic idea here. The peaks and valleys, that's all we're going to do. And then it's going to interpolate between them. So the light will actually really look like it's changing in response to the voice, which is fantastic. So all the ones that are zeros, we don't have, all the valleys, we don't have to adjust the keyframes on those. We just have to adjust the keyframe values on the peaks, because all the valleys are going to be set to 0. And so the more keyframes you add in here, the better the light will sync. So it's just a question of how much time do you want to spend on doing this, And there is some background music in here on this audio, which isn't probably the greatest, but there, I'm going to just wrap it up there. So now with that done, all I have to do is go back and select these where the peaks are, and then put in some values. And not all the peaks are the same, so it looked like 256 was kind of the max value. So maybe if it looks like a pretty big audio, I'll just put in 250. And then on these other ones, I'll just put like 250 here. There's just a few of them I gotta do, so maybe I won't speed it up. But 250 there. And there's one little one there. That seems like such a little thing that maybe I'll just put 100 there. You know what I mean? Just kind of trying to make it, the values kind of coincide with what's going on. And that's like a really small peak there, so maybe I'll just put like a 50. And so it's just, you could use your judgment on it. And like I said, this is just the proof of concept, really, of how this could work. And I don't know if there's a faster way to do this, but I don't know. But to get sync audio on a robot, I think is pretty cool. So I think it's worth the effort, and there, that's all I'm going to do. So now if I go to the beginning and I hit play,
Magic you are looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
Yeah, that's good enough. You get the idea. Okay, and then if we want to render this out, now notice how there we don't even see the the chest plate anymore. So that's kind of cool, right? So let's go ahead and let me add the place actors window here. And let's get a cine camera and drag that onto the scene. Let's bring it over here. And I can close this window now. And then just let me try to get this camera in position over here. Hey, there you are. And let me just back up a little bit and bring it down a little bit. And then I'm just going to open up the field of view a little bit there. And then we'll just get everything in focus. And then what we have to do with the cine camera selected is we're going to add it to our sequencer. And now we can go ahead and hit camera cuts, and we would just render this out. And now when we go to render, you'll see we have an option to try to add the audio. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll just leave everything pretty much on the default, and we'll go capture movie and see what happens.
Magic you are looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
Yeah, so the audio seems to be inconsistent, so I'm just going to leave the audio off and just render out this visual and see how that goes. I don't save it. So it's not a very long clip at all. So that's pretty much it. And then I'll just sync this up in my video editing software. So anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Take care. Have a great day. And I'll do some more updates if I figure out a better workflow to this. But this is just kind of a experiment. Okay, take care and have a great day.
Magic you are looking for is in the work you're avoiding.